June 21st, 2023 meeting to order and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. I do want to remind everybody that this is a public meeting and it is recorded and can be participated virtually. If there is public comment from anyone on an item that isn't on the agenda today, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And please, anybody that approaches the podium today, please give your name and your address. Thank you. Awards, recognitions, correspondence. Cindy? Or
Yes.
Commissioner Timmons?
We have a challenge coin recipient. Caden Purnell. Caden's not here.
No, not in the field, I think.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and read this. Caden has done a great job over these past few months, which has contributed to the success of the environmental health program. Caden has been willing to take on extra work in order to ensure the program runs smoothly. Caden began by joining Umatilla County Health during the COVID-19 emergency, first starting at what was called the COVID call center, working as a contact tracer, then transitioning over to the environmental health program and becoming a registered environmental health trainee. During Caden's training as a trainee, she was able to accomplish one of the environmental health program goals. One of Caden's achievements was passing the National Environmental Health Association exam. The exam covers many different areas of environmental health, which include knowledge about health concerns concerning food, drinking water, wastewater, radiation, soil, and air. This exam can be difficult to pass. However, this is one of the requirements in Oregon that all trainees must complete in order to become a fully registered environmental health specialist. Also, I want to acknowledge that Caden has been helping with temporary restaurant inspections on the weekends. During this time of year is a busy season for temporary events, and Caden has been willing to contribute time to ensure these food inspections are completed. Additionally, taking on extra responsibilities by devoting time to complete water well surveys. This involves that an inspector goes to a homeowner's property to complete an online voucher, inspects parts of the well, and collect a water sample to deliver to the laboratory. Caden has been able to balance time completing well water surveys along with normal duties, which include completing restaurant, mobile unit, hotel, and pool inspections. Because of the outstanding dedication and hard work, I would like to recognize Caden for this award. I want to congratulate Caden for passing the exam and obtaining her license, and to keep up the great work. Byron Morris, Environmental Health Supervisor. So congratulations to Caden Purnell.
Congratulations, Caden, and please, Joe, pass that on from all of the commissioners for sure. Thank you. Additional awards, recognitions, or correspondence?
I just want to give a quick shout out to, this past week we had the Hat Rock fire and the Pendleton Mount Hebert fire. I was very impressed with our firefighters, and not only our firefighters, but our Sheriff's Office personnel. Captain Ward was there, Jake Kessler was there, Jody Florence. Our emergency manager staged along, did an outstanding job. But I think all credit goes to the farmers. I mean, if it hadn't been for our farmers, we would have had a huge fire. I mean, it was already huge, but it would have been 1,000 times worse. So kudos go to our farmers for sure.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than that. I think dumbfounded how well that went. And thanks to Commissioner Schaefer while I was gone. There's a lot of administrative work that needs to be done by the commissioners, and thank you for stepping up and taking care of that. Approval of, we have no minutes. Additions to the agenda?
There really aren't, but on your written agenda, there's an item 15, but it is on the monitor.
The health
The health
grants.
grants?
Oh, excuse me. 15, exempt adjustment.
Oh, I don't have that on mine.
There was a pinky for it in the
I
package.
saw the pinky, yeah.
It's not on your written agenda, but it is on the
Okay.
line.
Okay. If I do skip that and forget that, that's a lot of items and my memory's not that long. It's only probably 6 items long. If we get to 15 and I forget that, please remind me.
I think any exempt will remind you.
I think you're probably right. Well, let's start off today. The first item on the agenda, I'd like to welcome Mike back, and the Pendleton Sanitary Service rate increase. Gina, are you gonna?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Gina Miller, and I am the County Staff Liaison to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. We are here today to ask for your approval of a rate increase request from Pendleton Sanitary Service. With me today is Mike McHenry, who is the President and owner of Pendleton Sanitary, to answer any questions you may have. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee received an application for a rate increase on April 6, 2023. The committee met on April 18th and voted unanimously to recommend this application to the board for final approval. As per our ordinance in Chapter 50, a public notice was published in the East Oregonian on May 6th and posted in 3 public places within the service area of the franchise, which is Pendleton Sanitary. The public notice period ended on May 19th at 5 p.m. During that time, the county did not receive any written remonstrances or comments. So today, we're bringing this request to you for final approval of the rate increase to become effective on July 1st, 2023. If you have any questions, Mike is here to.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you bringing back a very realistic increase. That's appreciated. I know that we've had this discussion before. I still have, not that in this case, but issues with using a CPI for a PPI project. I still think that we should have those discussions in the future.
We can, and I was gonna
Not
address
now,
that actually. That's fine.
okay.
I did do a little research on that.
Yeah.
And with the larger companies, Waste Management, Waste Connections, and I did not contact Republic Services. Those are the 3 largest. But in every jurisdiction, I asked exclusively the CPI was used in our industry. I don't have the reasoning for that, but that is what was predominantly used in our industry. And I don't have the answers on why.
I understand that, and I've seen that in other places. And I can almost tell you the reason for that, that's neither here nor there, but I think it's worth a further discussion.
Sure, absolutely.
Down the line. But I do really want to thank you for really digging into this and having a very realistic increase. I think it's appreciated by probably the people in Pendleton, but also the Umatilla County constituents that use Pendleton Sanitary. Thank you. Other comments?
No, I usually have a comment about a rate increase, especially when it comes to utilities. But I see where nobody commented, and that just really stuck out with me. And so, and I think you're very realistic too. You have to stay in business, that's for sure. And the one thing I want to ask you is, are you just seeing your costs rise every which direction?
We are, and so I'll thank you. I'll address both. And if you read my letter to the Solid Waste Committee, you see that the city of Pendleton years ago asked, and I don't want to dig up where we've been, but asked what happened with sanitary disposal with large amounts of increases, asked Pendleton Sanitary Service, the city of Pendleton, please don't do that anymore. Let's put something in place where we can keep the increases reasonable, so there's a CPI escalator in our city franchise. And we're allowed by that escalator to increase it either by the amount of the CPI every year at our discretion, or 3.5%, whichever is less. So in this case, last year's CPI, I believe, was 7.5%. So what we're implementing is actually less than half of what the CPI was.
But that's what we're allowed at the city. We implemented that April 1st, and we're mirroring or requesting to mirror that with our county rates in this case. And the answer to your question about costs is yes. I was looking at my presentation to the city. Our labor rates went up, our union labor rates went up 9% last September 1st. Fuel expense was up 67% last year. Repairs and maintenance, 33% because of these new emissions engines. Yes, is the answer. Costs are way beyond 3.5%, but that's what, we're mirroring what we did in the city, and that's what we're requesting.
The only other question I have, and this on subject but a little bit to the left, is what's the status of your committee, your recycle committee?
So the committee, the rulemaking advisory committee for DEQ that I served on has concluded its 5 meetings. And now there is a second rulemaking advisory committee to further those discussions on the same topics with different folks, different people from our industry. So my part's concluded. The public comment period for that legislation is right now. I think the deadline is July 28th,
26.
somewhere in there. And we're going to craft, the Solid Waste Committee for Umatilla County will craft a response to that and ask for your support in what we submit at some point in the next 30 days.
I hope to see that. I'd sure like to see that.
Sure, you bet.
Were you comfortable with what you handed off to the other committee, or?
No, I personally am not. But as I think I mentioned in our, maybe not in a commissioners meeting, but in some of our side meetings, the political pressure from the west side of our state and from the producers of this packaging it is so great that I'm not sure we're gonna have much voice. We'll have to follow what's put in place for the whole state of Oregon, but we'll deal with it. We'll do the best we can do, and that's our job. So
Thanks, Mike.
you bet.
Wishes of the commission.
Mr. Chair, I move adoption of order BCC 2023-029.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Gina.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Next item is the Umatilla County burn ban.
And Gina also,
Gina, did you want to do any kind of burn ban?
burn ban.
Burn ban.
Yes, sir. You need to present?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So, gonna try and wing this best I can. Yes, the burn ban we have for the last approximately 10 years, I believe, have implemented a non-agricultural burn ban on July 1st. What this means is that it eliminates the small residential backyard burning of limbs and tree clippings and whatnot and burn barrels in an effort to try and reduce the particulate matter in the air because of all the other agricultural burning that's typically done this time of year. And it's been 6 years since we've had to implement a full agricultural burn as well. So hopefully by us limiting the amount of PM2 that's put into the atmosphere, by limiting the residential burning, we can hopefully assist the farmers in doing the burning that they need to do. So barring any unforeseen forecast systems for the summer, and the fire season is now officially on, we are hoping that the non-ag burn ban will be sufficient to keep those numbers low for public health and safety and to meet state and federal requirements. So we are asking that you implement the annual non-agricultural burn ban. When did you make it effective? July 1st, okay. And we typically ask to lift that sometime at the end of September.
Thank you. Questions?
No, I always hate to see this coming, because I live in the country and I love my burn barrel. So, stuff stacks up. I move to adopt order BCC 2023-031.
After the week we had last week, I'd gladly second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you very much.
The next is the North Hermiston Urban Renewal District. Hello, Clint.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for putting me on the agenda today. I'm Clint Spencer, City of Hermiston, 180 Northeast 2nd Street, Hermiston, Oregon. And just want to brief you briefly, no pun intended, on the potential formation of our North Hermiston Urban Renewal District. This is a new district that we're proposing for the area between Elm Avenue and Theater Lane in Hermiston, extending along North First Street or Highway 395, and then encompassing basically the commercial properties on both sides of that. Under state law, we're required to present this plan to the Board of Commissioners. You're not required to take action today, and we'll be holding a hearing on July 10th with the Hermiston City Council on this matter, but we do want to make you aware of what's going on. With me today online is Elaine Howard, our urban renewal consultant, and she'll be presenting kind of the mechanics and financials of the district. I kind of wanted to brief you on kind of the underlying logic of why we're undertaking this project right now. And you may or may not be aware that the Rogers Toyota in Hermiston recently relocated up onto the hill out in Umatilla County, leaving about a 4-acre vacant site on Highway 395. It's directly adjacent to a 13-acre site that has never been developed and runs along the Hermiston Drain. And then there's also additional commercial land north of this site, creating a very large, about 21-acre underdeveloped or even blighted parcel that's a good portion of it has never been developed, and it has a geographic constraint of the Hermiston Drain running through it, creating awkward parcel shapes. That, combined with the fact that North First Street between Elm and Theater Lane is the busiest highway region in Region 5, it's the busiest segment, sorry, it has provided a lot of traffic congestion and accidents. So this district is very small and very focused on basically one set of projects. Building a new interceptor street that will connect to Highway 395 directly adjacent to the Home Depot driveway. And then we'll extend eastward to North First Street where there's some multifamily development, creating a new pathway to kind of ease some of that congestion and get traffic off. We also are proposing to install a signal at the Home Depot driveway and where this street will intercept, and then a new north-south street which just connects a little bit parallel to Highway 395 so that we can drain some of the commercial area. We have a Burger King, we have a Popeyes that's going to be starting construction next month. There's some potential frontage improvements. Right now, everybody has to make left turns uncontrolled out of the Burger King area and the Popeyes area, or out of Home Depot going the other way. These are both very dangerous. We're hoping to channel everybody to a signal. And so this area is just intended to take advantage of that blighting condition, channel that money into a street, 2 streets really, so we can get that frontage road, a signal, and then a looping water line, which will help maintain pressure in that area. It's a very small project, projected to about 16 years of life. Usually urban renewal districts will run up to 20 years, but this one with $5 million for the projects probably won't take the full time to fund, because we're able to capitalize on some of those new projects. The Good Shepherd is looking at building an urgent care, Popeyes, anything that would happen on that 12-acre parcel, it's already under contract for commercial development. So we have the potential to potentially capitalize very quickly and sunset this district even faster. The 16-year sunsetting is based just on organic 3% growth of the existing development, assuming no build, but we already know some projects are coming. I'll stand for any questions now, or if you'd like, we can have Elaine do her presentation.
Let's do that. Let's go ahead and let
Okay.
Elaine make the presentation.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Elaine Howard. I see the presentation up on the screen. So I will just ask to advance slide if that works okay.
Sure.
So what we will be going through, this should be on the side that says roadmap, is the role of the county, a little background, financial capacity of the urban renewal area, and projects and process and schedule. Next slide. The role of the county is just to be briefed on the urban renewal plan, including the maximum indebtedness of the plan, and to review the taxing district's consultant confer letter from the Hermiston City Council. So just to make sure you receive that letter, the maximum indebtedness of the plan will go over on a slide, a couple of slides down. So in Oregon, an urban renewal plan is adopted through a specific procedure. The agency in Hermiston has to review the plan and decide whether to send it out for formal public review. They have done that. There is a presentation to the county. There is a planning commission review for conformance with the comprehensive plan that has occurred. They did concur that it conformed to the comprehensive plan, and then a city council hearing and vote. And we'll have a slide at the end that has the date for that. Next slide, please. This is the boundary, and as Mr. Spencer indicated, it's a fairly small urban renewal area. You can see Elm Avenue to the south and First Street to the north. It is a concentrated area, mainly just to provide that transportation infrastructure within the area and the looping water line. Next slide, please. There are statutory limitations on the amount of urban renewal any city can have. For cities that have a population of under 25,000, that's 25% of your assessed value in acreage. Hermiston has 2 existing urban renewal areas, and this potential area you can see under the numeral or letter C is 102 acres. When you total all of that up, it would be about 11.5% of the acreage and about 8.23% of the total assessed value. So they are well within the acreage and assessed value limitations. Next slide, please. The projects are exactly what Mr. Spencer outlined. So East-West Street, or Northeast Aspen Drive, a signal at North First Street and Aspen Drive, extension of North Street to Northeast Aspen Drive, a new looping water line along Northeast Aspen Drive, and then right-of-way acquisition. Next slide, please. This just shows the estimated costs of the projects. You can see that the costs of the projects are a little under $5 million, the total cost. These are in the first column of numbers is fiscal year end 2023 dollars, and then the year of expenditure is fiscal year end 2024 and 2025 dollars. So the city is hoping to do this project very quickly to allow that development to occur within the area. So you can see the difference between the constant dollars of $4,384,950 and $4,834,407 is not very much. The inflation factor is very small because the city is going to fund this upfront and be paid through the Urban Renewal Agency. Next slide, please. The maximum indebtedness proposed for this area is $5 million. So that's a very low maximum indebtedness for any urban renewal area. That is the amount of money necessary to pay for the project. The total net TIF would be a little over $6 million. The difference between those two is just interest on debt. The capacity in 2023 dollars is the capacity that equals the cost that the city estimates they will need to be able to complete the project. The area would end in year 16 or earlier, as Mr. Spencer indicated, because we've done very conservative financial forecasting for the area. So if development exceeds expectations because of the improved transportation network, then this area could close out much earlier. Next slide, please. This just shows the projection of tax increment revenues over time. So the bar at the bottom is to the taxing districts based on the frozen base of the value of the properties at the time this is adopted, if adopted in July. The gray shows the tax increment. This district would begin revenue sharing at an earlier date, and that is because of the low maximum indebtedness. So this is projected to start revenue sharing about in fiscal year in 2034. And that just means that a portion of the revenues above, anything above 500,000 per year would be shared with the taxing districts based on their permanent rate levies. Next slide, please. This just shows an estimate of that revenue sharing amount. So that's the total amount that again gets split within the different taxing districts. So the amount of revenue shared is in the final column, tax revenues from shared incremental assessed value. This is something that's relatively new in urban renewal areas, and it's because the Special Districts Association asked that any urban renewal area that was very successful start sharing some of their success earlier in the life of an urban renewal plan. Next slide, please. This shows the estimated impacts to the different taxing districts through fiscal year end 2040. So over that 16-year period to Umatilla County would be $988,767. The impacts are relatively low and will provide that increased value to all of you after the urban renewal area ends, because some of those parcels really couldn't be developed unless that transportation network and that looping water line gets installed. Next slide, please. This shows the estimated impacts annually to the different budgets. So you can see for your general county budget, the impact is not on your existing revenues, but potential future revenues. And it starts out very low at $14,594 in fiscal year end 2025. In fiscal year end 2040, it goes to $77,468, and that's a little lower than the prior year just because it's forecasted that the city would reach its maximum indebtedness during that year, so wouldn't need to take the full amount of tax increment revenues that year. Next slide, please. This just shows the education and our district totals. On education districts, they are funded differently than the general government. They are funded through the state school fund, and the community colleges through their own funding system based for the school district on per pupil counts. They are given a specified amount for every student that attends. And for the community college, it's based on classes taken. Those amounts do not decrease directly because of urban renewal. The legislature has other funds that they're able to put into that pot to allow every school district to meet that per pupil funding amount. Next slide. This slide shows those estimated impacts to the education districts annually. And again, those are indirect impacts to them, not direct impacts. Final slide. This, the city council hearing is scheduled for July 10th. That hearing will be advertised through utility customers throughout the city of Hermiston, and the vote is scheduled for July 24th. And that is the end of the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question referring to the looping water line. Is that fresh water line, or is that a distribution of the storm water?
This is potable water.
This is potable water, so it doesn't improve the storm water drain?
No.
That runs on the north side of the project?
No.
Yeah.
So I heard you say Popeyes. What about Firehouse Subs?
Not yet.
Yeah, yet. Huh, great presentation.
Yeah, that's good.
Clint and Elaine, it's interesting. My first glance at it was, hey, this is just a small urban growth request, but it is a lot more substantial than that.
It's going to seriously change the traffic flows and safety in the area where everybody's shopping. And I think hopefully not only will this encourage the development of the large parcel, but perhaps with better traffic circulation, some of the underdeveloped parcels in that corridor may also see some value increase and think about redeveloping.
Well, I would probably fairly quickly. On the two interchanges, I know that we were working with ODOT on the safety grant to do that study. Is that gonna be, will you be able to funnel those funds, or at least?
The city
Of
manager,
them?
yeah, the city manager has put that bug in their ear, and they are definitely considering reallocating some of the funds, which then would lower the cost for the urban
Right.
renewal area as well.
Yeah, pretty substantial, actually. Yeah. But again, that's just study dollars, so
Yeah.
I still have to do it. Surefoot fits in with the Pendleton Center extension, I-82, that whole development in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Sure makes everybody that was involved with that look very smart at this point. So,
Yeah.
thanks again. I don't think we need to take any action,
No.
but I am encouraging.
Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Lynn. Questions or comments?
Thank you.
Elaine, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You
Think so,
too. Next item is the dispatch payment.
Okay, it looks like most of the sheriff's office staff is out this morning
For Jan's.
for the funeral. So this request is coming from dispatch, and they're requesting $5,500 be paid to Sunridge Systems to help with the transfer from the old server to the new CAD server. This is to assist the IT department in making this switch over.
Just so everybody knows, we did have a pretty in-depth discussion with the sheriff on several of these items yesterday at staff meetings, so they have been discussed. Wishes of the commission?
I move approval for payment to Sunridge in the amount of $5,500.
Second?
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Don't go away. Next item is the sheriff's office payables.
This is a request for authorization for payment to St. Anthony Hospital for 4 accounts. These have been pending for a while. The hospital does provide the county a 26% discount. Those have been applied. The goal is to have them paid in this fiscal year, and that's why they're all before the board at this time. There was some hope maybe of trying to get an additional discount, but that was not, did not come to fruition. So the request is to authorize the 4 payables.
Do we have to do this separately?
Yes.
Can we talk about this just a
Yeah,
minute?
I, in general, yes, I would like to make a couple of comments too before we get started. Go
Okay.
ahead, Commissioner Tindall.
I thought it was very interesting, and this is common knowledge apparently to everyone but me, that anyone that is a prisoner or is an inmate, the minute that they're arrested, they lose their insurance coverage. And I was adding up, we have 4 payables here, over $180,000 that the county is gonna pay for. Right, Robert?
The county gets to pay for that, yes.
County gets to pay for that. Something's wrong with that. I haven't quite figured out what. I don't know exactly how the whole system works, but.
Not well.
Yeah.
Not well, and thank you to the hospital for giving a 26% discount, but still, yeah.
I will tell you that that is a priority for NACO and AOC, so to get that changed.
Okay,
And actually, all Oregon legislators, congressional and senators are on board at this point. That hasn't been the case in the past. and hopefully they hang together on that.
Yeah.
It's became a political football about 4 years ago, and it's stayed there. And it's I'm glad you brought it up, to put it on the record, for sure.
That's one of the, so as you know, I'm on the Public Safety Committee, steering committee at NACO, and that's one of their top priorities is to get that fixed because, you know, and the way they frame it is you're innocent until proven guilty, so if I'm still innocent, why did you take away my insurance? So that's how NACO's framing the argument.
And not only that, federal prisons have a different requirement than state and county.
And we've reached out to the hospital and, I mean, we've done everything possible to try to get a reduction in these.
Yes, that is correct.
Wishes of the commission.
Well, I think we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So that being said, I would make a motion to make a payable in the amount of $74,273.07.
Second.
Oh, well, hang on just a second. I just want to ask. Robert, I'm just going to turn to you. So this is it, huh? As far as paying this? I know I'm putting my heels in, but, you know, this is not right. And I know what these gentlemen have said. I'm sure that's very true, but come on.
From my point of view, because of the situation with the inmates, the county has incurred these costs and we're obligated to pay them. I don't like it, but
Like I said,
I mean, we took our inmates to the hospital to be seen for whatever treatment was necessary, and we incurred those costs. I don't think it's a great situation, but it's been that way for a long time, and that's something we do budget for, although probably not in this magnitude.
Been a motion and a second for the payable in the amount of $74,273.07. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 2-1. Commissioner Timmons opposed.
I make a motion to make a payable in the amount of $20,682.29.
Second. Been a motion and a second. All those in favor of paying $20,629 or $692.29, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 2-1. Commissioner Timmons opposed.
Make a motion to make a payable in the amount of $31,466.12.
Second. Been a motion and a second. Pay the payable amount of $31,466.12. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes 2-1. Commissioner Timmons opposed.
I make a motion to make a payable in the amount of $53,620.96.
Second. There's been a motion to payable in amount of $53,620.96. All those in favor?
You may want to repeat that.
$53,620.96. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 2-1. Commissioner Timmons opposed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public health payment.
Good morning, Joe Kimara, Umatilla County Public Health Director. This first one is our Quality Improvement Council came up with an idea for raising some awareness in the public of some of the various services we provide. We find that folks tend to know what we do if they receive a specific service from us, and don't necessarily have awareness of the variety of different activities that we do conduct if they have not been directly impacted. And the idea they'd come up with was to create some short videos that could be utilized on social media and other places to help kind of raise that awareness and kind of raise the brand as a method of quality improvement. And so we've been in talks with Elkhorn Media, and we have a quote from them for $15,000 to create 4 new videos and re-edit down a 5th video for size, for better sharing on social media, for promotion of the health department. The funding from this is going to come from our OHA modernization funds, and the quality improvement activities was a listed activity on that work plan submitted to OHA.
My comment there is to thank Joe for being creative in his modernization funds. I think that he probably set the bar high for the rest of the state to kind of follow, because your creative and innovation has not only been great, but it's also been impactful to the county. So thank you for that. Other comments?
I agree wholeheartely. I think that Joe does a fantastic job of just getting the word out about Umatilla County Public Health to all of our demographics. So I truly appreciate everything that you do. You definitely think outside the box.
Thank you. I try.
What they said. So, with that being said, how much are you about out of those now? Because they have to be spent.
So that is the plan, yes. So I am confident we are going to get to 0 on those dollars for this month. And then we get a new slate, a new set of those for the next biennium starting July 1.
Because I hate sending money back.
My understanding that ended up being a stronger dollar amount than was anticipated.
It went up and down, yeah. So they added another. The governor's budget had included a 50 million increase, and the legislatures had kind of cut that down to 30. But I believe the Christmas tree bill included the additional 20, which got it back up to, which is good news for us.
Yeah, I thought, I had this sneaky feeling everything was going to drop off the face of the earth after the pandemic, and it really didn't happen.
And it needs to not to. You know, a lot of what we build, it takes time, it takes infrastructure, and it takes that prolonged investment, because it's really hard to build this overnight.
There's other departments that aren't in as lucky a shape as you.
Correct.
Wishes of the commission?
I move to approve payment to Elkhorn Media Group for $15,000 to create videos for Umatilla County Health.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Next is another public health business payment.
Yeah, so this is for some printing and creation of little journal type sized, if you will, of a self-care booklet that staff of our regional team for the Regional Modernization Collaborative put together. They'd be given out to both staff as well as members of the public, and are going to be shared with the other counties that are participating in the partnership, which includes Wheeler, Morrow, Union, Harney, Malheur. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Baker. Most of Eastern Oregon. These funds also come from modernization funds, but those specifically slotted for the regional project, which is a separate funding stream, but comes from the same big pot of funds. This amount is $4,810.45, and based on timing, I knew we'd be doing a hand pay fee to keep it on this fiscal year for the payment.
So is there a reason this is in front of us? I mean, I'm not in disagreement by any means, but it's below the $5,000 mark, so I was wondering why it's.
I was instructed to take it to the board.
I think because it's a hand pay too.
We don't do that for hand pays.
I don't know. Wishes of the commission?
I've seen this booklet, well, and of course we have it on the computer. It's wonderful. I mean, it's well done. And so I move to approve payment to the Intermountain ESD, printing in the amount of $4,810.45 plus the $25 hand pay fee.
I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Before you run away, do you have any more of the emergency kits or the health
Yes.
kits?
Yes.
I just gave mine away as a demo. I need one more.
Yes, we do. We've been taking them sporadically to different events around the county. They go pretty fast, and so I'm trying not to take them all to just one event.
That's where I got mine, was at one event.
Yep.
I use it as a demo a lot until I lost it.
Excellent.
I
Yep,
mean, I
we still have
used
them.
it- I lost it to someone. Thanks, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the fee ordinance amendment. It's public hearing, so at this time I'll open the meeting to a public hearing.
Thank you. This is before the board for the second reading for the annual comprehensive fee amendment, ordinance amendment. Since the first reading was held on May 23rd, there were additional fees that have been added. This is coming from the Environmental Health Program. There was a memo put together by the department itemizing the changes and what the impacts are to the department. And so now it's before the board for a second reading and potential adoption.
We don't have to delay this with the amendments.
No, just that you've had a chance to review them beforehand and that we set out the changes.
Any comments opposing this ordinance, fee ordinance? Hearing none, seeing none, any comments in support of this ordinance? Hearing none, seeing none, any comments neutral on this ordinance? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close public hearing. What's the wishes of the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-05.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda
Light one.
is juvenile services payables.
This is coming before the board from Juvenile Division for a payable for treatment. It's to the Center for Integrated Intervention for only $11,347.20. Due to the amount, it's before the board for approval.
Do we need just one motion on this?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Well, I just have one comment. I would like to know what we're paying for.
It's actually HIPAA. Is this HIPAA?
Yeah, but it's for treatment for a client.
Treatment for a client? Okay. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That does have.
Well, let's check real quick.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is maintenance payable flooring.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Tanner, Facilities Manager, Umatilla County. First one before you is for the installation of the flooring at the new Community Corrections Facility in the amount of $7,500. And this will be reimbursed by Community Corrections.
Chair, move approval for payment.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is approval for electrical.
Yep. Same thing. This is for the electrical for, this was the part of the lighting and exterior lighting and the interior lighting fixtures for the amount of $6,832.93. This will be reimbursed by Community Corrections also.
Chair, move approval for payment.
I have a comment. When are we gonna cut the ribbon on this building?
Roughly a month. Yeah.
Okay. Then a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is chiller maid.
So this is for the chiller at the courthouse. There was some internal programming that was corrected by HMS from the original installation. So this is for $6,614.
Comments? I have one. Why isn't this under warranty?
The company that installed the chiller originally is no longer in business.
So was it an installation issue or was it a?
I thought HMS installed it.
No,
That was who our contract was with.
no, HMS has done the repairs since then. Mechanical heating is the ones that installed the chiller. HMS did the chiller at Stafford Hansel.
I have to say that I had quite a conversation with Mark this morning about the whole background of the chiller at the courthouse, how all the parts came together. And so, yeah, I certainly got all my questions answered. And definitely no fault of the maintenance department at all. Just kind of the way it worked out.
Oh, that wasn't my issue.
No,
Yeah.
that's not my issue at all. I think the maintenance department's done great. I think we have a vendor issue here.
Yeah.
And what happened to this company? Did it sell out? Did it?
It started, so when the bid was awarded to the company to begin with, in between the time that it was awarded and the time that they started the project, the company split. So the portion of the company that had dealt with the chiller bidding and all that process left, went elsewhere. The company followed through with their awarded bid, did the installation. It occurred at the end of summer, so we really didn't get a chance to test it the first year. So the second year, we started having some issues. They came back, they made adjustments. We made it through that first year, thought we were good to go. The second year, we ended up with more issues. And that was about the time that HMS started doing work for us. And they were awarded the contract for the air handlers in the courthouse. And after multiple conversations with them, we decided to wait on any chiller changes until the air handlers were installed to see if that corrected some of the issues we were having, which it did correct quite a few of the issues. And I think what this is kind of that last little bit of fine-tuning adjustments to the programming inside the chiller itself to work with our system.
Doug, since the company didn't go out of business, just went in a different direction, right?
No, they're out of business now. They split during the process and then they have since gone.
Both sides of them are out of business.
Yeah, both sides are gone now.
I think I know why. Well,
Did we try to contact not just the installer, but the equipment manufacturer themselves?
Yeah, HMS.
No, the manufacturer of the.
Yeah. HMS, when we brought them in, they brought in the factory people. The factory people verified that they felt the system was installed correctly and with the proper equipment. And they made some adjustments, but it still didn't solve the issue, so.
kind of like the inmate issue where we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd move approval payment to HMS Commercial Service in the amount of $6,615.
Second.
where are we now? Are we done? Are we set? Is HMS warrantying their?
Oh yeah, HMS warranties everything. I have no issues getting them back for anything. And since this has occurred, I have had no issues. I've had no shutdowns, and that's the key.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. You're welcome.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Mark. Next, factory, fair tractor sale.
What's coming before the board is the approval to sell the fair tractor and its implements to the city of Hermiston for $25,000. The agreement with the city will allow the fair use of this equipment upon request for no charge, and so the matter is before the board for the approval of the sale of the equipment.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the sale of the city of Hermiston for the tractor and implements in the amount of $25,000.
Ask a question.
Sure.
Why are we selling it?
Don't need it.
Is that it?
Yes.
Just not needed?
And maintenance costs.
And
Oh, maintenance.
extreme maintenance costs,
Okay.
yes. And maintenance disagreements, and everything, yeah. Lots of reasons, to be honest with you.
Okay. Second?
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Which brings us to property sale.
This is coming before the board for authorization for sale of property. This was tax foreclosed property that went through the auction and did not receive any bids. One of the other property owners that has other undivided interests in this property has made a bid for the interest. There's 9 different tax lots that this covers with varying interests of undivided interest from 6.25 to down to 196 interest. And so the total amount is for $13,242 for all of the interest in the different properties.
So just one motion for that board order?
Just to adopt the order.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move adoption of order BCC 2023-0330.
Second?
And a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 030, not 330.
030. Seems like it's missing a zero.
Yeah, that's, wait, that's not what it said.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the 4% COLA increase.
This is coming before the board for approval to, for the cost of living adjustments for salaries for the exempt and administrative staff. The proposal is for 4%. This has been the practice, follows the highest COLA increase under the collective bargaining agreements. So in this case, it's for 4% that's being requested.
Wishes of the commission?
Okay. I move to set the COLA increase for exempt and administrative salary schedule at 4%.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to the health grant. Felix enhancement. So as a member of the Felix Enhancement Launch Program Board, we met 2 weeks ago and addressed several projects that were brought to the board, and those are included in your packet. And I would move for approval for the request from the Health Board and their community service dollars. Enhancement dollars, sorry.
Are you adopting that BCC, is that what?
That's exactly what I'm doing. I move to adopt BCC 2023-028.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Another, it's hard sometimes to explain the benefit of some of these projects around the county, but there's one that's pretty easy. So, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the authorization to purchase up to 15 vehicles.
And before the board is to approve the purchase, it's through the enterprise fleet management. And the funding would be through the fleet management fund.
Wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the purchase of the vehicles and authorize the commissioner to sign documents with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Second.
Been a motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
At this time, I'll open the meeting to a public hearing. Supplemental budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO, Umatilla County. Before you this morning is one supplemental budget for your consideration for the 22-23 fiscal year. The Human Services Subcontracted Services Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in state revenue of $200,000 and an increase in materials and services of $200,000. Any questions?
Nope, and seeing no participants in the crowd and none online, I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move adoption of order BC, or budget order number 2023-140.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay?
Motion passes unanimously. Budget transfers.
Commissioners, there are also 14 budget transfers for consideration today. I'll summarize them for you. Budget Order 2023-136, Victim Witness Assistance. The Victims Conference Program requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2023-137, General Fund Cultural Specific Grant Program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in personnel services of $10,000 and an increase in materials and services of $10,000. Budget Order 2023-138, General Fund Victim Witness Program requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2023-139 Road Improvement Program requires appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $90,000 and a decrease in contingency of $90,000. Budget Order 2023-141 Capital Purchases Management Program requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $25,000 and a decrease in contingency of $25,000. Budget Order 2023-142 Umatilla County Coalitions. The RAP program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of this budget. This requires a decrease in personnel services of $500 and an increase in materials and services of $500. Budget Order 2023-143, the Public Land Corner Preservation Program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $20,000 and a decrease in contingency of $20,000. Budget Order 2023-144, Community Service Development Program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2023-145, CARE Program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $15,000, a decrease in contingency of $15,000. Budget Order 2023-146, the School-Based Health Center Wellness Hubs Program requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $20,000 and a decrease in contingency of $20,000. Budget Order 2023-147, General Fund Finance Program, requires an appropriations transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2023-148, General Fund Computer Information Services Program, requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2023-149, General Fund Criminal Program, requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $75,000 and a decrease in contingency of $75,000. Budget Order 2023-150, BMIP Reserve Sheriff Special Program, requires an appropriation transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $3,000 and a decrease in contingency of $3,000. Are there questions?
No. Wishes of the board.
I move to adopt order number 2023-136.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-137.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-138.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt order number 2023-139.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-141.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-142.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-143.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-144.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-145.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-146.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-147.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-148.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-149.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt order number 2023-150.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Budget transfers, we're done. At the end of the agenda. Already? Do you believe? Close this meeting. Thank you. Not much of a crowd left.
I'm one way to clear a room.
I didn't say that. Thanks, Robert.